In the forests, woodlands, and open grasslands of Central and West Africa, there's an animal that can make tools, solve problems, form friendships, and recognize its own reflection. It is not a monkey. It is a chimpanzee, one of our closest living relatives and one of the most remarkable great apes on Earth. A chimpanzee may begin its day high in the trees, carefully selecting fruit. Later, it might travel across the ground with companions, groom a friend, call loudly through the forest, or use a simple tool to reach food hidden inside a termite mound. Every day, chimpanzees make choices that reveal intelligence, memory, cooperation, and emotion. But their world is changing quickly. Today, we are entering the chimpanzee's world, a world of family, friendship, tools, communication, and forests that need protecting. Let's start with an important distinction. Chimpanzees are often casually called monkeys, but they are not monkeys at all. Chimpanzees are great apes. Like humans, gorillas, orangutans, and bonobos, they belong to the ape family. Unlike many monkeys, chimpanzees do not have tails. Their bodies are built for climbing, swinging, balancing, and moving through a complicated world of branches, vines, and uneven forest ground. Their scientific name is pan-troglodytes. And although humans and chimpanzees are very different species with very different lives, they share roughly 98.7% of their DNA. That number does not mean chimpanzees are almost human. They are chimpanzees, animals with their own abilities, needs, social rules, and ways of living. But it does help explain why watching them can sometimes feel surprisingly familiar. A young chimp clings to its mother. Friends sit close together and groom one another. A group celebrates, argues, makes up, and works together. Their lives are not simple. They are filled with relationships. Chimpanzees have the widest natural range of any great ape. They can live in tropical rainforests, but they are not limited to deep jungle. Some chimpanzee communities also live in woodlands and savannas, where trees may be scattered across more open land. That flexibility has helped chimpanzees survive in many environments. But flexibility does not make them safe from the challenges they face today. Before we look at those challenges, we need to meet the chimpanzee on its own terms, starting with the community. Chimpanzees live in communities that can include up to around 100 individuals. But the whole community does not travel together all the time. Instead, chimpanzees live in what scientists call a fission-fusion society. That means the larger community regularly splits into smaller groups, then comes back together again. In the morning, one small party might head toward a fruiting tree. Another may travel in a different direction. Later, those groups might meet, greet each other, share a resting place, and move on. This way of life makes sense in a forest where food is spread out and conditions can change. A smaller group may be easier to keep, but the wider community still matters. Chimpanzees remain alone, recognize social relationships, and keep track of everyone else. Within many communities, the alpha male holds high social position. But chimpanzee society is not simply about one animal ordering everyone else around. Relationships are important. Male chimpanzees may form coalitions, supporting one another and building alliances over time. Females often leave their birth community when they reach maturity, while males are more likely to remain in the community where they were born. This means male relationships can last for many years. And then there's grooming. Grooming is not just about keeping clean. It is social glue. When chimpanzees carefully pick through one another's fur, they're also spending time together. They may be calming tension, strengthening a friendship, or simply sharing a quiet moment. In a busy community full of changing groups and complicated relationships, grooming helps maintain connection. For chimpanzees, family and friendship are not side stories. They are at the center of daily life. And no relationship is more important, especially at the beginning, than the relationship between a mother and her young. A chimpanzee's childhood is long, close, and full of learning. After a gestation period of about 7.5 months, a mother gives birth to a single infant. The baby depends completely on her. At first, it clings tightly to her body as she travels through the trees and across the forest floor. Imagine learning how to live in a three-dimensional world. How to judge the distance between branches, which foods are safe, where to travel, how to behave around older chimpanzees, and how to use the tools of your community. That learning takes time. Young chimpanzees are usually weaned between about 3 and 5 years old, but their close bond with their mother can last much longer, often for life. A mother is not only a source of food and safety. She is a teacher. By watching her, a young chimp learns where to find food. By following older chimpanzees, it learns the pathways of the forest. By observing the community, it begins to understand the rules of chimpanzee life. Females generally mature at around 13 years, while males mature at around 15 years. In the wild, chimpanzees may live for several decades, often around 30 to 50 years. That long life gives chimpanzees time to learn, and learning is one of the keys to their success. A young chimp does not arrive in the world knowing how to crack a nut with a stone or fish termites from a mound. It watches, it practices, it improves. And that brings us to one of the most famous parts of chimpanzee behavior: tools. For a long time, people believed that making and using tools was something only humans did. Chimpanzees helped change that idea. In different parts of Africa, chimpanzees use simple tools in clever ways. One of the best-known examples is termite fishing. A chimpanzee may select a stick, insert it into a termite mound, then pull it out and eat the insects that cling to it. The tool may look simple, but the behavior is not. The chimp has to recognize a food opportunity, choose or prepare an object, use it in the right place, and repeat the process patiently. It is a small act of engineering in the middle of the forest. Chimpanzees also use stones as hammers and anvils to crack open nuts. A hard nut is placed on a stable surface, then struck with another stone. It can take practice to get the force and position right. In some communities, chimpanzees use leaves like sponges, soaking up water and squeezing it into their mouths. In Senegal, chimpanzees have also been observed making more advanced spear-like tools for hunting. But perhaps the most fascinating part is that not every chimpanzee community uses exactly the same tools in exactly the same way. One group may have a nut-cracking tradition. Another may use a different tool set. These patterns can be passed from one generation to the next through observation and learning. That is why scientists sometimes describe chimpanzees as having forms of culture. Not culture identical to human culture, of course, but traditions that belong to particular communities, skills learned socially, repeated over time, and shared within a group. So when a young chimpanzee watches an adult use a stick, it is not just seeing an object. It may be watching a lesson handed down across generations. And chimpanzees do not communicate only through tools. Their forests are full of messages. A chimpanzee community can be noisy, energetic, quiet, tense, playful, or peaceful, sometimes all on the same day. Chimpanzees communicate with vocalizations, facial expressions, body language, gestures, and touch. One of their most famous calls is the pant hoot, a powerful series of sounds that can travel through the forest. A pant hoot may help chimpanzees keep track of one another, announce excitement, or communicate across distance. To human ears, it can sound wild and unfamiliar. To other chimpanzees, it carries information. But sound is only part of the story. A chimpanzee's posture can matter. Its movements can matter. The direction of its gaze can matter. A gesture can invite attention or signal intention. Grooming can provide reassurance. A touch may reduce tension. And chimpanzee faces can be easy for people to misunderstand. For example, a chimpanzee showing its teeth may look as if it is smiling. But a toothy display is not necessarily happiness. It can signal fear or anxiety. This is a useful reminder. Animals do not always communicate in the same way people do. The more carefully we watch chimpanzees, the clearer it becomes that communication is not simply about making noise. It is about living with others. It is about knowing when to approach, when to give space, when to join in, and when to stay close to a trusted companion. Chimpanzees also show impressive awareness of themselves. They are among the relatively few animals known to recognize themselves in a mirror. That ability does not tell us everything about what a chimpanzee thinks or feels, but it is another clue that their minds are complex, flexible, and deeply engaged with the world around them. And that world is shaped, in part, by what chimpanzees eat. Chimpanzees are omnivores. Their diet includes a wide variety of foods. More than 80 different items have been recorded in chimpanzee diets. Fruit is especially important, but chimpanzees also eat seeds, leaves, insects, and at times meat. Finding food is not always as easy as spotting a meal and picking it up. Forest food can be seasonal. A tree heavy with fruit one month may offer little the next. Chimpanzees need memory, movement, and patience to make the most of changing landscapes. A community may travel considerable distances to reach valuable food sources. And when food is plentiful, social life can become especially lively around a favored tree. Sometimes chimpanzees share meat. This behavior has been associated with cooperation and social reciprocity, relationships in which support, access, and social bonds can matter over time. But the most important point is not that chimpanzees sometimes eat meat. It is that they are adaptable eaters. Their varied diet helps them live in different kinds of habitats. And while chimpanzees are gathering and eating, they're doing something important for the forest. They are planting it. Not with shovels or seeds in little pots, of course, but through their daily travels and their diet, chimpanzees help disperse seeds across the landscape. That makes them more than residents of the forest. In a very real sense, they are among its gardeners. When chimpanzees eat fruit, they often carry seeds away from the parent tree. Those seeds can later end up in new places where they may have a chance to grow. Across a large home range and a varied diet, this seed dispersal helps support forest diversity and regeneration. That may not sound dramatic at first, but imagine a forest as a living network. Trees provide food and shelter. Fruits feed animals. Animals move seeds. Seeds become new plants. New plants help sustain the next generation of forest life. Chimpanzees are part of that network. Protecting chimpanzees is not only about saving one intelligent and charismatic species. It is also about protecting the forests they help shape and the many other forms of life that share those places. But forests are under pressure. As habitats are lost or broken into smaller pieces, chimpanzees can be pushed closer to human settlements and farmland. In some areas, chimpanzees may raid crops, leading to conflict and, sometimes, retaliatory killing. For a chimpanzee community, the loss of forest is more than the loss of trees. It can mean fewer food sources, disrupted travel routes, and less space for family groups to live safely. And habitat loss is only one of several serious threats. Chimpanzees are classified as endangered, and their population is decreasing. The reasons are connected. Habitat loss continues as forests are cleared, fragmented, or changed. Poaching threatens chimpanzees directly, including through the bushmeat trade and the illegal pet trade. Disease, including Ebola, can also have devastating effects on chimpanzee populations. These are not distant problems. Each lost forest corridor, each separated community, and each captured animal affects lives built around close social bonds. A chimpanzee infant taken from its mother does not simply lose a place to live. It loses safety, teaching, and a relationship that should have lasted for years. The good news is that conservation can make a difference. Protecting forests protects chimpanzees. Supporting local communities can help reduce conflict between people and wildlife. Rescue and conservation organizations can care for affected animals, while researchers and field teams can monitor populations and better understand what chimpanzees need. And everyday choices can matter too. Learning about wildlife, supporting trustworthy conservation organizations, and respecting wild animals as wild animals all help build a culture of protection. Chimpanzees do not belong in private homes as pets. They are powerful, social, intelligent wild animals with complex needs that cannot be met in an ordinary household. They belong with their communities in habitats where they can travel, forage, groom, learn, call to one another, and raise their young. The future of chimpanzees will depend on whether people choose to make room for them. And perhaps the most powerful reason to do that is not simply that they resemble us. It is that they are valuable in their own right. Chimpanzees are not monkeys. They are great apes, our close living relatives, but also completely unique animals with their own societies, traditions, voices, and ways of seeing the world. They live in communities that split apart and reunite. They build friendships through grooming. They care for their young over many years. They use sticks, stones, and leaves as tools. They communicate through calls, gestures, expressions, and touch. They eat from the forest, and in doing so, help the forest grow. They are strong, but not superhumanly strong. Scientific research suggests that chimpanzee muscle has an advantage in dynamic force and power over human muscle, roughly 1.35 times stronger, rather than the exaggerated claims sometimes repeated online. Their strength is real, but perhaps their greatest strength is adaptability, the ability to learn, cooperate, remember, and pass knowledge from one generation to another. Still, intelligence alone cannot protect them from disappearing habitat, disease, poaching, and conflict with people. Chimpanzees have survived for an incredibly long time in the forests of Africa. Their next chapter depends on the choices made now by governments, communities, conservationists, and people around the world who decide that wild places and wild animals are worth protecting. The forest is not silent. It is full of messages. And if we listen carefully, the chimpanzee story tells us something important. Protecting nature is not only about preserving what is familiar to us. It is about making space for lives that are different from our own, yet just as meaningful. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of chimpanzees, please like this video, subscribe for more family-friendly wildlife documentaries, and share it with someone who loves animals. And in the comments, tell us, which chimpanzee behavior surprised you most? Their tools, their communication, or their close family bonds? Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious and help protect the wild world we all share.